We decided to organize this first training called Corporate Governance, Key to Building Legacy Companies, really out of the need and the gap we've seen in the ecosystem. Having looked at over 100 companies in the last 6 months, we saw a lot of foundational gap around how to build scalable companies, and that led us to seeing the need to bring founders into a room and then have healthy conversations around how to implement corporate governance practices.
I think my biggest learning was the importance of setting up the key sort of governance structures from the beginning of the company, ahead of the company getting busier, ahead of sort of activity getting heavier in the company. And so setting up the board very early, setting up processes and structures and internal processes to ensure that as you grow, you are actually prepared to scale properly.
Two key learnings. Number one is you need to put the structures in place before you grow up as a company, because there's never really a time you grow up. But number two is you need to have periodic reviews where you're assessing your compliance or your achievement of each of the key targets in terms of corporate governance, and have a plan in place to get there.
So how I would apply this to my company's operations? Basically setting up processes for performance incentives to ensure that each person, each staff in the organization knows exactly what they need to do to excel at their jobs, and ensure that there's a very effective, successful succession planning in place.
For me, it was eye-opener that we're not doing too badly in terms of the corporate governance structures that we're putting in place. But more importantly, we're now going to go further and seal in all the steps that we've been guided to take, and more of the steps that we've already sort of documented in our shareholders agreement to take in terms of our corporate governance structures. So yes, we're going to go and complete the setting up of our new board and ensure we do our proper quarterly meetings.
So today we had an hour of conversation with startups in the room. Our experience was mostly of sharing, but it was great to see people engaged in a conversation about practical questions around how to raise money from a VC.
The value I would want them to see is why it's necessary to have the right corporate governance practices in place, how it would help the performance of their organization, why they should have a functional board, no matter how small the size, because an independent party on the board brings credibility, brings the independence of mind, and brings the objectivity, even just to let them know whether some of the things they're considering is right or wrong, or how well it can be better done.
My hope for the future is that startups like this would make a difference in the larger society, which is Nigeria. So it's important for me that we have more of training such as this to bring to the consciousness of people what it means to run a proper organization, and not a short-term quick fix solutions, which is endemic in Nigeria today.
We plan to continue to do this into the future and to have, at least on a quarterly basis, a specific topic that we can double down and get founders in the room to ask very practical questions and take them through step by step how to achieve these objectives around the market, objectives around growth, objectives around their teams, and how to even double down on corporate governance. So we expect to do lots more, and watch the space as we contribute our quota to growing the local ecosystem here in Nigeria as a venture capital firm.